Jet fans, welcome to another episode of JetCast. Today we have Chris from the Finn's Tailgate channel. Link will be in the description. Chris, I come into all these videos and I come into a lot of these interviews and I have like notes and I want to talk about player stats and all these things. And I'm at the point of the season where it's like, why bother? Why?
Yeah, that's
why
a lot of
spend
work. It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah. For in my case, a team that is just for the last decade disappointing day in and day out. And now I have a Rodgers Netflix special to look forward to on top of all of this stuff. The circus never ends. It never ends. So, Ray, I know you haven't been on in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute covering a lot of the New York Mets stuff, but I've been around. We've been doing our Twitter spaces every Wednesday night. We had Armando from Fox News on earlier this week on Wednesday. It's funny because when you look at the Dolphins and the Jets, two teams, I think, Chris, you'll agree with me, absolutely we're supposed to at least be competing for the playoffs, for crying out loud. To think that in preseason, to think back, you guys are like, all right, we all agree the Bills are the best team in the division, but there's a chance that three teams make it to the playoffs in this division. And to see how it's been working out, I'd love to get your initial thoughts. What the hell's going on in Miami?
Well, listen, you guys talk about the last decade being disappointing. Now, agreed, you guys have had wild disappointments, but the Dolphins, we have these immense highs with these immense lows. The roller coaster. It's amazing anyone can hold on. I know you guys have been struggling a lot, with quarterbacks from the last couple of draft picks. Quarterbacks have been really bad. And then with the Aaron Rodgers thing, it was here's the thing that Dolphins fans, myself included, really wondered about it. The New York Circus, the bringing in the high profile athlete, our quarterback, right, is a polarizing figure. Aaron Rodgers is probably the most polarizing figure, right? People love him. People hate him. You see the thing that just came out about his ex on Instagram saying he took her soul. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Like, he's got this Netflix special centered around ayahuasca. And like, we all kind of knew this about him. And so it was so fitting from my perspective to see the Jets think that they were gonna put that show together, right? And now he was just talking about ownership being culpable when everybody he's blamed with culpability has now lost their job. What's the owner going to give up the team? It's been quite the sideshow. But me with my Dolphins, I would say the sideshow happens. It is centered around our quarterback too, right? Like, Tua not living up to expectations, us paying him rather than ride the fifth year. Yes, he has all these beautiful statistics, but since coming back from what worries us the most, his injury probabilities, right, with the concussions being at the forefront of those concerns. But even since he's been back, he's 4-4 with this team. It's not like he hasn't had chances all year. He's 4 losses, 4 wins. The team is underwhelming, and the way in which ownership and management quadrupled down on renewing contracts, and Ramsey got paid, Waddle got paid, which I wanted to pay Waddle. I still want to pay Waddle. I still think he's talented, and none of these players I'm listing now aren't talented. But Hill got reworked and more money. Our coach gets paid. Everyone got paid when we saw what happened at the end of last year. Us become out physicaled late in the year. Guys, the scheme got figured out with all the, stuff with Tyreek and Waddle, and teams basically out beat us up at the end of the year, and they paid for that. And so when they told fans in ipso facto that they were going to get these things figured out, and they roll it out, and it is more of the same. And now, what do we do? What do we do now?
What do you guys do, Chris? What do you do? What are the offseason changes you could see being made? We're here in New York. We're in our own changes. We have an entire new regime coming in, new GM, new head coach, which scares the shit out of me because if we're being honest, I just seen something with U Stadium reporting Ben Johnson. He's not necessarily going to be seeking out teams this year in regard to being a head coach. He wants teams to approach him, and he's only going to take interviews on Johnson.
Why would he want to leave Detroit anyway? Why would Ben Johnson ever want to leave
Detroit?
Well,
money, of course.
He's just trying to shoot his shot, to be honest with you, right? Whether it's money or not, he wants to make sure. I mean, listen, a lot of these guys are going to get paid relatively the same at jobs. It's how much say-so control and, type of
right.
Like, you can have a great situation, but go in and have terrible results because of management, because of divas in the locker room, whatever the case may be. So him being selective in a year that looks like there's going to be a lot of jobs, why not be, right?
Or even when you think about it, Pat, think about
going back to your question though, Chris, what do you want to see in the offseason though? If you could put a general manager's hat on, what would you want to see the Dolphins do?
Well, problem is it starts with the general manager, right? It starts with our coach. And it starts with the quarterback. It starts with the type of mentality that we've had in Miami. I've been preaching this for a little bit now. Miami is a white-collar football team. It is a white-collar football team that caters to a white-collar type of fan. And football can sell. It can sell these things, right? But when you're asking for war, and ultimately in football, at some point, the war is going to happen on the field. Mm-hmm. We have nothing. We have nothing because these guys are getting paid. It's flashy. It's beautiful. We have an identity crisis here in Miami, I believe. We have a real problem. And the hardest part about it is I think it's centered around our owner. And Dolphin fans do not talk about this. They never do. They always talk about how great of an owner we got because he spends money. The guy has taken a team that he purchased, a fringe playoff team that's either one win away from the playoffs or a first round out the playoffs. That's what he bought. And he's invested a total of $2.1 billion. And in 20 years of owning that team, he's now made like $8 billion in profit on his initial investment. And he has only delivered the same football team that has the ability to be a middling football team that's just up a little bit, down a little bit, and then selling it over again. To me, what I would do is we need to scrap everything. And the problem is I don't believe this team with this ownership and management will do the right thing because the last guy I seen building it the right way was Brian Flores. And they didn't like that type of guy. They want people to be in a office setting, a white collar setting to, be pleasantries and for lack of a better term, kiss each other's ass. And rather than be blunt with each other and say, dude, shut the hell up. I know this part because I know football. Don't tell me what to do. Don't force me to play these players. Don't whatever. And the coach, admittedly so, and Brian Flores really lashed out in a negative way that ultimately got him fired. But that would have happened anyhow because that's the slow, hard, not entertaining way. It's not very marketable. It's not very pretty until it's a polished product. And even then, you're not going to have top 5 wide receivers that are flashy that you could sell jerseys for. You might even not have the top 5 quarterback that's flashy that you could sell jerseys for. In a way, there's no marketability to that. And to me, this owner prioritizes profits. He prioritizes first marketability because that ties into what his real goal is. The second is profits. And you can't get to the second goal, which is the first goal, without marketability. Third would be the result of the team. Because that's what I think we have a real – I've never been so devoid of hope of this organization because the team that's been assembled the last 2 years has talent like no other. And the result is guys not having the will or the desire to play the game in the physical manner to get over to the next step. That is an inherently terrible thing. This team organization has a slide in it, bro. Like, take that shit out. Get that. Like, that's like, what are we talking about?
It's
So
the same over here. I mean, we were looking for like that toughness identity. It's been a lot of no accountability, a lot of okay, you guys, we'll you guys be better next week. It's more of we got to look at the tape, we got to be better. Just the same over and over and over again. And we don't have that roller coaster. We've been in the basement for so long where us Jeff fans are just finally just completely fed up with the whole thing.
Hardened to it.
Right. And it's you talk about Brian Flores. That's the type of attitude that a lot of Jeff fans want to see a head coach have. We haven't had, from our perspective, we haven't had a head coach with a personality since Rex Ryan, and now Jeff fans want to bring back Rex Ryan, which would be the most
I don't
circus thing you could think of. What do you think, Chris, is talking about Tua specifically? What do you think is his drawback? What is holding him back specifically?
outside of health, you mean? Outside of what?
Outside of health, let's take the health out of it. Because when he let's just say for that when he is on the field, he is healthy. I'm not going to put him on the field when he's not healthy, right?
I don't think anything. I don't think anything performance wise I could ask more of Tua. To be honest with you, I think he is giving, especially how he played last year and how he's playing this year and what he's showing, what little bit of tweaks he can make. I think he's playing as good as I could ever ask of him.
Is it a scheme thing then with McDaniels?
No, I think the scheme is tailor-made so well that I don't think
agree.
anyone else can be put in there to get any results close to it. It is tailor-made in the most nip-tuck of ways, better than anything I've ever seen. I'll give that to Mike McDaniel. I just think that this is the top end we're going to be able to get. This is all we're going to be able to get from it. That's the problem. This is all we're going to be able to get, which Dolphins fans love to go, okay, we need an O-line because they're looking at O-line, then we can win in the trenches and we can have a power run game. But that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen for free. And when you're paying, $60 million, $50 million in wide receivers and another $50 million in quarterback, like you got $110 million. You can't have all of these things like they want.
Took the words right out of my mouth. It's all about drafting, right? I mean,
it is, but you gotta understand, right? Like in the cap era, it's very interesting because we see it. Josh Allen gets paid. Now, he'd been getting paid, and they brought in a number one wide receiver in Diggs, but they've reached a point that they can live without Diggs, and his talent level can supersede the loss. I don't think Tua has that. And not a lot of quarterbacks do, that their talent can, for the money you're going to pay them, can overcome the loss of the talent they need to work with. It's crazy, but that's the facts. We know this.
In this league, I feel like no matter what, you need a top 10 quarterback to go anywhere in this league. And Tua is last year, he was playing at a top 10 level pace. But this year he's middle of the road, and us Jeff fans know we've been in the bottom third in quarterback play for a decade now.
A decade,
so I would say since coming back from injury, and even in in the games he's played, he's not really dropped off compared to last year. And honestly, he's done something we've been dying. He's got every year we ask him to do something different and he delivers. This year we were like, he needs to make off script plays. He needs to climb the pocket, get out of the pocket and push the ball. And he's done that in games. He's not doing that against the likes of the Packers, right? He's not.
I don't know if he can. I don't know if that suits his style. He's not. Isn't that why they drafted him? Is because he's a quick release type quarterback. He fits a McDaniels type system. Like he would be perfect in San Francisco. Like that's what I think.
Yes, agreed. But it's the same setup too, right? Mm-hmm. I only think that could take you so far. We know that, like, especially as you get late in the season, teams that are well evenly matched, it's going to come down to 2 or 3 plays on either side of the ball that decide the whole football game.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. You can look back at the game and go, man, it was a back and forth and stop, then they got to stop, and then that muffed punt cost this team the game. And now it's hard to say that because you could overcome, but really it's down to a couple of plays. I don't think Tua, on abilities alone, are going to make those plays in the times we need him. It's hard to say because, like, he has, right? And Dolphin fans, I could hear them literally. I could hear Twitter Dolphins fans arguing against me. They hate me right now, bro, because I tell them the truth. They don't like that. But
you're not fanboying.
no, I'm not. I'm not selling the hope and dream and narrative like they want, and they hate that. Like Tua against the Ravens, sometime back in the fourth quarter, had a game of all games to win it and steal the victory from the Ravens like 2 years ago, and it was something great. But I can't say that he can do it because he did it one time. I just need it done. You know what I'm saying? I can't live on the fact that, well, maybe he can do it, and I can't say that that's not happening because he did it one time. Again, killing the narrative doesn't mean bucking it one time. It means owning that narrative, and they're just not.
The argument that Jet fans have with Zach Wilson, I feel like, because they'd be like, oh, they would take anecdotal things here and there to see Zach Wilson do something great, and then think that could extrapolate out into like a whole career. And our whole was like, you can't. Yes, everybody will have a great play here and there. That doesn't mean you're going to have a fantastic career. You know,
it's maddening because I love statistics and I hate statistics, and these weird, obscure, like percentage on third down when avoiding sacks success rate. Like, oh my God, I want to jump off a cliff when I hear this stuff. I'm like, dude, to me, listen, I played a lot of football. I loved playing defense. And to me, football, there's, especially at the highest of levels, they're the smartest game planners on the earth. They're the smartest guys picking talent. These are the most talented people on earth. Ultimately, in a lot of games, it comes down to will and desire and heart and grit. These are the things and that means leaders to lead that type of stuff. Everyone's too busy trying to outthink each other. Everyone's too busy out, with the Dolphins in particular, to outflank everybody with their speed. And when teams don't let you do that, they go, oh, well, what do we do? And they get down on themselves, and then people start giving up. Defense might be holding in, but if the defense sees the offense can't do anything, and it's late in the third, and I've been doing everything all day, eventually I'm tired. I'm sick of it. I'm mad now at you guys, and you take one play off because you're just sucking wind, and now you've let the team down. It's this weird dichotomy that analytics there's no way to put analytics on that. So all this weird, obscure type of things to show what could be if all of a million things worked out right all the time is stupid. It comes down to not X's and O's and more Jimmy and Joes and guys that are leaders.
Yeah.
How big of a loss do you think Vic Fangio was to this team?
Well, if you ask Dolphin fans, that was good riddance. But again,
really?
Oh, absolute good riddance. They did not like him. They thought he was a bad, mean man. And that's the way this organization is run. That's the way the fan base wants to, police each other out here. That Fangio didn't want to be here. He just came here for the money, but no one listened to the words Fangio said. Fangio immediately came in here and was like, these guys don't want to work hard enough. These guys are going to change. We got quitters. We have a second round draft pick, Cam Smith, that didn't play at all last year. And it was said publicly that Fangio said the kid isn't ready. He's, he has immaturity issues, stuff like that. Well, they ran him up out of here. And when Fangio kind of like towards the last game or so, just completely was like, going through the motions, right? They were like, he's held Cam Smith back. He had a thing against him. All these bullshit narratives. And now the kid comes out. He's been terrible all year. He's been injury prone. He's had the worst 2 years of a second round draft pick in a minute for us.
It's funny that you say that, because when we spoke to Mike Westall, Pat and I, it was like, he's obviously been a special teams guru for 20 plus years. He said he wanted to be a head coach, and he always stressed how, like, being a head coach is just such a different mindset. It's not offensive, defensive, but he always said you could judge a player pretty much 80 to 90% in practice, and you'll spot, what you have. So a guy that's a veteran like Fangio, who's been around, who's ran some great defensive schemes, he's not going to intentionally hurt the Dolphins by sitting a guy like that. And to even like insinuate that as fans is kind of, lunacy to me.
Well, that's common practice with these Dolphin fans, to be honest with you guys. This type of blame game on the outgoing people, that we are going to hang every excuse for what the team's failures were on that person, and how the hope train gets repackaged and sold that this is now the right person because people like them, not because of results based, because of marketability and likability in this white collar team. Again, Fangio leaving, I think schematically, I don't know how much it's hurt, because I think that our coach is pretty good. I think we lack talent, man. We got some good people here and there, but schematically, I don't think there's too big of a thing. I would say maybe situationally, definitely from our DC now to Fangio, but I don't know how much of a drop off it is.
That's also what happens when you pay two receivers. I mean, think about it. Wilkins walked right out the door. Not saying he would have been the saving grace, but how many teams could surround a quarterback that's making a boatload of money with two high-paid receivers and still fill out the rest of a roster? Unless you're, the Rams, who have been nailing third, fourth, and fifth round picks for 3 or 4 years now. I mean, it's almost impossible. For me, when I look at the Dolphins, and I know I come from, the Jets, so it's hard to really speak on it, but paying two receivers, I know you said you wanted to pay Waddle and Hill, but that's what's going to cost you an offensive line. That's what's going to cost you a defensive line. Now you're also paying Ramsey a boatload of money. So it's like you have so many guys. Remember, the Rams did that for years, but the issue was they paid Ramsey, they paid, Donald, they paid Stafford, but they nailed third and fourth round picks nonstop. And that's something the Jets haven't done. And I mean, Pat, when's the last time you could recall a great fourth or fifth round pick, Michael Carter Jr. from 4 or 5 years ago?
The only thing we can hang our head on is Ashton Davis. That's it. I'm right. All right, let's get into this game now. Personally, I feel like the Jets are going to get steamrolled, and I want them to get steamrolled. Chris,
I second that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to be honest. We're looking through the Jets just like we did the Patriots.
Everybody the Jets is a get-right game.
We lost to the Patriots.
Well, then there you go, right?
After somehow blowing out the Patriots on our at the home opener, Ray and I,
which we were at.
Yeah.
Well, see, then you guys should be going to more games. That's how you get blowout, So see, I don't know.
I got to show this to the wife
then. So
but yeah, good.
I have listen. We're looking through the Jets. We're not impressed. You guys are a dumpster fire, and we're in a tailspin. But at least we're not on fire in a dumpster.
Within that,
but
you're also still playing for something a little bit. Oh
yeah. Sure we are. Yeah. I mean, listen. I'll be on board if the last week it's winning in right against the Jets. But until that happens,
we'll be there.
You'll be there. You'll be there. Yes, technically you're right. And there's tons of fans and they will hold on to the sliver of hope. To me, I just want to see a team that isn't, the locker room isn't lost. I don't want to see the shenanigans happen like with outgoing Fangio. The hit pieces start flying. There's already rumors surrounding a lot of people and a lot of different things in our fan base, in and out of the building about people. There's implications of, somebody's going to lose their head. That stuff simmers with every win. So a good win this week, but go go to Houston and lay an egg and get embarrassed by a team that looks to be playoff bound after their successful rebuild with their pick. Even after they lost all their draft capital for years to us that we did all this with, and they are surpassing us, winning their division and having a second year. Like, there's a lot of people are going to need to answer to that type of stuff.
It's the most
What
frustrating
happens when
thing.
you
In our world, it doesn't take 6 years to rebuild a team, and the
Mm.
Texans are a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and
So-
I love the narrative from fans that, well, we'll just see. Look, we got to give them next year. We got to give them. When every time someone says you got to give them more time, I want to pull my hair out. Give them more time. And don't you realize every year added is a year older, a year more broken down from playing the game. People don't get stronger as they get older; they get weaker. Now I get it. When you're judging a kid from 22 to 27, it's kind of different. And I'm not saying these guys are now in their 30s, but every time you say give them another year, it's stupid. It's stupid because you can't count on all the successes you had last year and just plug and play the following year. If we were doing that, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle would have tons more yards and touchdowns when they have been silent most of the season.
If I had to put my money down on what's going to happen in this game, it's the perfect Jets playbook for a loss. So the Dolphins are going to probably run it down their throat because we can't stop the run at all. Okay, Hill and Waddle, they'll get their catches. It's going to come down to probably a last effort with maybe a minute left with Rodgers with the ball on like the 30-yard line. He'll take a bad sack and then that'll be the end of the game. Or he'll throw a
pick six.
That's what it's been. He's had 5 chances this year. 5 chances with the ball in his hand to drive down the field and get a winning touchdown or a field goal, and we're 0-5.
And it's funny, it's ironic to think of how clutch everyone used to consider Rodgers.
Well, he was back then.
He was clutch.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the irony of the flip.
It's just slow. You can see it. The processing is just slow, and the ball's not going out as fast as it usually did. He's forcing the ball to Devontae. I mean, you watch.
And he's throwing it, and Pat, he's throwing it to no one half the time. Half the time, Garrett Wilson's running a fly route and he's throwing a comeback. We've seen that since week 1.
Now, is this a product? I have a question. Is this a product of miscommunication? Because I know Rodgers is always. When I watch your guys get, he's changing every foot play at the line 3 or 4 times. What's going on?
I read a great article about Rodgers recently where he was talking about when he was younger with McCarthy. McCarthy forced him into a scheme. He played great. They won a Super Bowl. And as time went on, Rodgers wanted to take more on and more on. And he ends up changing the playbook and changing the offense to suit what he wants to do. And he's changing all these things. He's trying to be Peyton Manning on the field and do all these little things here and there. But the receivers need to be on the same page as him. And when they are, it works. And when they aren't, it doesn't. In comes LaFleur in Green Bay, forces him back into a scheme, and he has 2 MVP seasons. Now he comes here with Hackett, who, by the way, Hackett was not calling the plays in Green Bay. It was LaFleur. So the idea of bringing Hackett over was fool's gold. And you have Rodgers running the offense. Rodgers is the offensive coordinator. He is the de facto play caller. I know Todd Downey is supposed to be calling the plays, which is somehow, I don't know what Hackett's doing at this point. He's just making coffee for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, in the offseason, they literally tried to bring in Arthur Smith to oversee the entire offense and
be the play caller.
What team does that? While keeping
the Jets
coordinator and having an offensive overseer. And of course, he didn't want to do that. He goes to Pittsburgh. They're having a great season. And the belief was, well, we didn't get him. Rodgers will fix it. And clearly it hasn't.
I just,
he works best when he's in a scheme. And I think is there of that.
It's how did not everybody know this though? Like, it seems so easy. Like when Rodgers came to the Jets.
There's a lot of fans
I gotta imagine, right? Because like
they didn't, and they just saw the shiny player on the shelf and they wanted to get him. And
like,
a lot of us were like, okay, yeah, you're going from Zach Wilson to a 4-time MVP. The numbers should be better. And going back to your thing about statistics, Rodgers is actually statistically having a pretty decent year. But the problem is we all have eyes.
Yeah.
And it's the bad throws. It's the missed touchdowns to Garrett Wilson where he's 7 yards open in the end zone, and then the next play it's a pick six. You can still have a statistically good year and be playing like crap.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Jets in a nutshell this year. The defense is being put. I would contend that the defense is being put in positions where it shouldn't be in. Because
Absolutely.
Last week, if Rodgers makes that throw to Garrett Wilson, I don't know why he's trying to finesse it over his head. Just hit him in the chest. He's wide open. The next play, you don't throw that interception, and then all of a sudden the defense isn't on his heels the rest of the game. It's the playbook. It all goes back to Rodgers, and a lot of Jet fans don't want to
admit that,
accept that, and admit that.
So it's kind of like Rodgers again. And you say there was plenty of you guys that knew this. To me, it was certain. Rodgers was coming here to be everything, first, last, and only word on offense. He was going to run that offensive team, and it was only a matter of time till he was going to run the entire Jets team. And forcing Saleh out, I seen it come. I called it at the beginning of last year. I said, this is Saleh's on thin ice. And then when Rodgers went down, it's the only reason Saleh was there. This would have happened last year if Rodgers was there all year. Personally, this was an inevitability. The GM, I don't know how much I saw of that happening, to be honest with you. But then again, we're hearing
we all did.
Well, you guys did.
Like we said,
he's been terrible. He's been terrible. You're right. I get that. He's been terrible, but I didn't know the owner GM mad because I guess the owner wanted to sit Rodgers. I didn't see that kind of happening, but that's just another layer of.
I think that whole report, some of it was kind of conflated. Look, there's somebody, the Athletic and Diana Rossini have somebody inside the Jets building, and that person absolutely hates Woody Johnson.
It leaks like a sieve.
Oh my god!
I bet you it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. You know what's wild though, Chris? What you were just asking, you said about the whole offense thing. This injury that Aaron got completely changed him as a quarterback. Remember, in Green Bay, he would maneuver throughout the pocket. He's not a scrambler, but he is a complete stiff back there. Yeah, like he can't step up in the pocket. If you notice, if you watch him at all this season, after week 1 or 2, every throw he's throwing off his back foot, scared he's going to get hit. He has no movability in the pocket whatsoever, and it's killed us.
It started in the London game because we were at week 3 at the home opener. He was very mobile. He was running all over the place. They destroyed the Patriots. And then 2 weeks later, they're in Minnesota. He gets rolled up on, and there's pictures of him screaming because his leg is twisted underneath the lineman. And after that,
I remember that.
Well,
just so you know, they'll be pointing that out and saying that Rodgers been playing injured all year and is getting some tune-up surgery, and the Jets are rolling it back out next year. Can't wait to see the show. They're gonna do it. They're gonna jet it, dude.
We have some connections to some reporters, and it very likely he's gone. And it's
I'm just saying, like,
one season.
Chris just likes to.
I'm telling you, if it rolls,
he just wants to twist a little.
If it rolls out again, I'm gonna be like, man, I knew it. I knew it, dude.
This draft, there is no good quarterback to really take in this draft. So
there's a couple, but they're not going to be playing next year.
Bro, you know Cam Ward looks pretty good. I'm obviously
going to take Cam Ward. The Giants.
We're not going to be bad enough.
That's right. That's right.
I had someone saying that if Jacksonville ends up with the first overall, the second overall, and they take Sanders or they take Cam Ward, do the Jets call up?
Jacksonville's not going to take it. No, I don't think so. I don't think they take it.
Well, I agree. That's the only way. If the Jets GM absolutely falls in love with a quarterback, you trade up.
Well, no, not trade up. I was going to say if Jacksonville drafts a quarterback, I saw a report out there that the Jets should call up Jacksonville and see if Trevor Lawrence is on the trading block.
Oh, now that would be a pretty savvy move, I think, honestly. Trevor Lawrence gets a lot of hate, and he is definitely not as good as I thought he was going to be, but I don't think he's terrible either.
We heard Andrew Luck. Remember that?
Now, that was pushing it Okay, that was really pushing.
But that's what we heard. The best quarterback prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck. That was all over the place.
Buddy,
That's
I hear that
obviously he's not, but-
every 2 years I hear that.
Yeah, but we heard about him for a while because Georgia was winning national titles and, you know.
Yeah.
Right. We watched Zach Wilson on his pro day make this unbelievable throw running to his left, right? And then all of a sudden he was the next that throw is what destroyed the entire Saleh and Douglas era.
And Pat, I'm on record. I never wanted Zach Wilson.
Neither did I.
I'm not even saying to keep Sam, but I mean, BYU playing against absolutely nobody. If you actually watched his college tape, yeah, he did a couple nice things. I can't take that away from him. But he's throwing to guys that are wide the hell open by 15 yards. The guy's got an arm, but he doesn't have it up here. And you knew that right away.
How many first rounders did the Niners give up to go up and get Trey
3?
Lance? You telling me we couldn't get more for the second overall pick and just keep Sam?
And now look at Sam. And now he's rumored to come to us potentially to be our quarterback next year.
All right, so Chris, thanks for hanging out. This was fun. We're definitely got to do this again before the last game of the season, and hopefully, maybe you guys are in a winning situation. But our season is done, and honestly, we're not making the playoffs. I think for the next 2 years.
I'll be Joe and Clark for the next 30 years.
You know what? We could be in a scenario where it's a winning in, and you guys stand a chance, spoilers, to have something in the offseason. Hey, Dolphins are into the playoffs. They've figured something out, and you could throw us off at the last game of the year to spoil our season, I guess. But likely it's in for playoffs, and, we get to look towards the draft. But I'll love to do it again with you guys. I had a great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Really appreciate it. So, guys, check out Chris's page. The link will be in the description of the video. We'll see you guys next time. Ray, I think we're going to do something with Nick next week. And we'll see everybody then.